So ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Roma Theory. No green screen today because it's having a little fix. It got broken. It will be back tonight when we go live for the match preview, for the last match preview of the season. That's going to happen later tonight. What I want to do today is kind of share my last words on the Europa League final, but not on the game. I just wanted to have a chat and kind of talk to you guys about the experience and kind of like the behind the scenes, the things which you guys didn't see throughout the series, which I hope you enjoyed throughout the vlog. So yeah, just a few tips and things and all of that. I think it's a useful one. So yeah, if you haven't already, smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, and yeah, the first thing which I want to answer. This is kind of a Q&A because I received a lot of questions, especially on Instagram, regarding these topics. And in fact, the first question which I got bombarded upon after the first vlog, which was the vlog in Belgrade, was a question related to Red Star. Red Star in Roma. Obviously, me and my friends visited the Red Star Belgrade Stadium, and people were like, wow, that you took a big risk. Because obviously what happened in February with the Red Star Ultras, it's not a friendly moment between the two fan bases, and if there's one fan base out there which is not safe and pretty aggressive, it's Red Star. So I thought I was gonna explain all of the Red Star visiting Belgrade and all of that. The first thing which I want to point out, however, is that obviously me and my friends didn't have a direct flight to Budapest. This is something which you obviously know if you watched and followed the series. We went to Belgrade with a plane, and then from Belgrade to Budapest we went with a bus, and then after the game, when we went back, we went from Budapest to Vienna with a train, and from Vienna to Rome with a plane. But obviously the first step was Belgrade. A few thoughts on Belgrade. Obviously my expectations weren't massive when it comes to Belgrade, because obviously coming from a city like Rome, again, I didn't have high expectations when going there. My thoughts on Belgrade is obviously due to the fact that it's been through so many wars. The architecture is different everywhere you go. Another thing about Belgrade is that there's a lot of nationalism, right? In a sense that every step you take around the city, there's a Serbian flag. And then obviously the last thing which I mentioned in one of the vlogs is that the people in Serbia were not the friendliest. Now again, this is nothing. If anyone is Serbian here, this is no offense to your wonderful country, but just my thoughts is that Serbian people are not friendly, but like grumpy and cold. Cold is a good term to describe Serbian people. English, nobody speaks English there, and obviously the currency is a different currency, and yeah. But when it comes to the question which I want to answer about Belgrade, is going to the Red Star Belgrade Stadium. Did you take a risk and all of that? Now obviously the first thing which I got advised, even before flying to Belgrade, was to never display Roma objects, so never walk around with Roma scarves or Roma shirts or Roma hats, and that's obviously something which, an advice which I took. I never showed, nobody never knew that I was a Roma fan. Obviously people understood that we were Italian, but yeah, if anyone is planning to go to Belgrade, don't walk around with Roma the kind of gadgets and things. When it comes to the Red Star Belgrade Stadium, we just went there. It was insane because nobody checked it. We literally walked into it and nobody stopped us, and it wasn't something illegal because people saw us walk in and they were like, "Go in, yeah, go have a chat, go have a walk around the stadium." So it was open. It was literally open. Red Star Belgrade played the day before we arrived in Belgrade. The stadium was in a complete mess, and it's a weird stadium because it's a big stadium but it looks small. And then the other thing about the Belgrade Stadium, the Red Star Belgrade Stadium, is that the seats are all destroyed, in a sense that they are destroyed on purpose, not because the stadium isn't looked after. The seats are destroyed. because in the Red Star Belgrade derby, so Red Star against Partizan, they literally burned the seats. So the stadium is derelict. And it's a weird stadium because outside the stadium, you've literally got items from the war. Everything, you see, the perfect description of Belgrade is that nothing makes sense. If you enter a world where you imagine nothing making sense, that's what Belgrade is. Because it's a weird one. Maybe it's because I've never visited a place like Belgrade, but it's a weird one. So yeah, the stadium was a weird stadium. Fun fact, the Red Star Belgrade Stadium and the Partizan Belgrade Stadium are very close. They're literally like 3-minute walk from each other. And obviously the thing which surprised me the most about the Red Star Stadium is that they've got shops outside, obviously like every team. They've got the official Red Star Belgrade shop. And then they've got an Ultras shop. Like they've literally got a shop dedicated just to the Ultras. Selling items of Ultras, selling those kind of like white hats, white things that the Ultras put on their faces to not get recognized. They've got an entire shop just dedicated to, the things which the Ultras sell. And what I've gathered is that their Ultras that their name is called Crazy North. They have got an alliance with the Olympiacos in Greece. Yeah, that's the impression of Belgrade. Was it a risk going in the stadium? Had we worn Roma jerseys? Yes, but nobody knew we were Roma fans unless somebody watches my videos. So yeah, it wasn't a big risk, and I think it was well worth it. It was well worth it because we've seen a completely different world of football, completely different world too. Very different kind of my city, the city which I live in. So yeah, it's been fun. And then from Belgrade, we went to Budapest with a bus, 6-hour bus, very long bus. But the problem why it was very long is because it took us hours to go through the border. We had to show our passports and all of that, and it took ages. And then we arrived in Budapest, and we got scammed. This is another thing which you saw if you watched the vlogs. We literally got scammed because I booked this hotel before flying to Belgrade and everything looked legit. I literally booked everything on booking.com, so it has to be legit if it's booking.com. We arrive in Budapest, get a taxi from the bus station to this hotel, literally follow the address to where the door was, and the hotel isn't there. And we look at the ring phone, that there is no, the name isn't there. So we start asking people which are coming outside of that building, have you ever heard of Gold Apartment? And they're like, no, I've never heard of this. And it was a weird one because everything looked legit, but then nobody knew who it was and what it was, where it was. So then what we did is that we went inside the building. So we went inside the building to check on the doors. Maybe a door said Gold Apartments. So we went inside this building, and it was one hell of a sketchy building. The first thing which you saw in that building, which I noticed in that building, is that there were pictures of basically like security cameras, which showed images of burglars getting inside that building. And the first thing which I said was, oh my god, where is this hotel? What have I booked? And it's not inviting. When you book a hotel in a different country with a very different language to yours, and the first thing you see in this hypothetical hotel is pictures of burglars and security cameras, it's not very inviting. So then the hotel wasn't there, so we booked another hostel, because obviously we don't have a limited amount of money. We booked a hostel, and then we reached this hostel, and yeah, that was the scam, parenthesis. And then obviously the last parenthesis which I will talk about in this kind of sharing my experience video is, by the way, if anybody has any questions on the countries, on the language, on the currency, feel free to ask everything in the live chat. This is kind of a Q&A. So yeah, if you've got any questions on this entire trip. Again, I was very nervous for this trip. Because when you're going to so many different places in a limited amount of days, and you have to take so many modes of transport. I was very nervous at the start because I knew that many things could go wrong in this, and maybe we couldn't even watch the game if something went wrong. And I was pretty nervous because out of me and my two friends, I was the oldest one. So I was very responsible for bringing my friends back home in Rome. But yeah, other than that, I was pretty nervous at the start. Pretty nervous with this hotel scam and all of that. I was the oldest, so I was the most responsible one. But yeah, we managed to get back safe. Let's talk about my experience on the Europa League behalf, because there are a few things which I want to say which I didn't kind of depict in the vlog. So the first thing is that the stadium isn't the closest to the city centre. It's not far away, don't get me wrong, but it's not the closest. I'd say it's like 40 minutes from the city centre. And obviously there were fan zones. There was a fan zone for Roma fans and a fan zone for Seville fans. So we arrived in the fan zone around 5 hours before kickoff. Great atmosphere, songs, you're in between your own big family. And the fan zone was a really cool fan zone. It was in the middle of this green park, which we reached with a metro. So great on that. Very, very good when it comes to the fan zone, the organization of the fan zone. Then we made our way to the stadium, and the distance between the fan zone and the stadium was like 25-minute walk, but it was interesting. It was fun because we walked all together. We did like kind of a group walk towards the stadium, chanting and flares. It was great. Then we arrived at the stadium. Now this is the interesting part. We arrived at the stadium. Great stadium. The Puskas Arena is one hell of a nice stadium. Modern stadium. It was a really nice stadium, both outside and inside. Great stadium. If you ever have the chance to go to Budapest, go to the Puskas Arena. Even if there isn't a game, it's a really nice stadium. We got to the stadium, and I have to be honest with you, the UEFA organization wasn't the best. Now, in a sense that so many people entered in the stadium without tickets. Now, I obviously am speaking about the Roma fan base because I wasn't around the Seville fans, but I have heard that in the Seville fans it was the same. Now, don't get me wrong, there were way more Roma fans than Seville fans, and I think that's something which you noticed on TV as well. You had the Roma fan base, the Seville fan base, and then the neutral fan bases. But throughout the neutral stands, you had plenty more Roma fans than Seville fans. But the important thing to understand is that organization was shit, in a sense that so many people got in that stadium without tickets. And obviously, I'm speaking regards of Roma fans here. There were so many Roma fans which got inside the stadium, kind of. Like the turnstiles, there were like 3 people crushed together, which moved together in a turnstile turn. And that's kind of when you've got a team which reaches finals once in a lifetime. Everybody wants to be there, and I'm sure that happens in every final. I know in the Champions League final last year in Paris there was a similar thing, but obviously it took us a while. It took us a while to get inside that stadium, because the stewards were complaining, the fans were complaining with the stewards, the turnstiles were moving at a certain point. Once we got into the stadium, obviously having more fans than there should be, because a lot of fans got there without a ticket inside the stadium, managed to sneak inside. Obviously, a lot of people didn't have seats. Now, I was very lucky with this one because I entered the stadium 3 hours before kickoff, before many fans, and I got my seat and never stood away from that seat. Never went to the bathroom prior to the kickoff, never grabbed the hot dog, never left that seat, because I knew that if I left that seat, I was never going to get it back. So there were a lot of people, however, which did not have seats. And therefore, there were a lot of people which crushed all together towards the kind of the disabled area, where everybody stood there with their wheelchairs, and the disabled fans area. which is obviously not great to see because that is the priority for disabled people with their wheelchairs and all of that. But the worst thing of this final, apart from the result, obviously, was that, so basically, I was there with two friends. I was sat behind the goal, and my friend was sat close to me, but not the closest. So we were like 5 rows away. And then I had my other friend who was sitting in neutral ground. At a certain point, what happens around the 20th minute of the second half is that my friend who was sat not next to me, but close to me, felt sick. And he started having a nausea attack in a sense that he did not care about the game anymore because he was feeling really, really sick. So we waited till halftime, and I went with my friend to the bathroom, and he told me he threw up. He threw up, and obviously, why was he feeling sick? I'm 100% convinced he felt sick because of the tension of the game. And I know that's pretty, like, you're probably going, no, that's not the case. Trust me, it is. The tension makes you feel sick. The pressure makes you feel sick. And then you've got nausea all around. Everybody's crushed together. Everybody's crammed together. You do feel sick. So he felt sick. And at halftime, we go to the higher level where the bathrooms were. And my friend threw up. And he went to the health and safety zone, like where the ambulances are, to ask for a tablet. Kind of like, a tablet. Can I have a tablet? Just because I don't want to miss the game, give me a tablet, I'll feel better, and I'll go back and watch the game. And these health and safety people, were they doctors? I don't know, but they were in charge of that zone. Didn't want to give him a tablet and literally wanted him to have blood tests. And he was like, there is no way I'm taking a blood test in a stadium when my team is playing a final. There is no way I am taking a blood test when my team is playing a final. No, give me a tablet and I will feel better. But I'm not going to take blood tests in the middle of the game. And these doctors insisted, no, you will not take a tablet. You will have blood tests. And they pulled out this massive syringe. And my friend insisted, no, I'm not taking blood tests. Just give me a damn tablet. And they were rude. They were pretty rude because they insisted. And when he says, no, I don't want blood tests, I'm not feeling necessarily sick to take blood tests. Just give me a tablet, paracetamol, I'll feel better. They insisted, and they started saying, stop behaving like a kid and have these blood tests given on you. And that to me was like, why? That was terrible. Blood tests in the middle of a final is madness. That's terrible. And they were so rude. You know, he wasn't about to die. He just had a little nausea. And no, you have to take blood tests. We're not giving you a tablet. And obviously, you can't take blood tests. You can't take blood tests because let's say something went wrong with those blood tests. He would have missed the game and he would have probably gone to the hospital. And let me remind you, none of us three are 18 years old. So if we ended up to that hospital, God knows what happened next. Because our parents would have been involved in this. And our parents weren't there. Our parents were in Rome. Our parents would have, to be fair, panicked. So I am glad he didn't take blood tests, just because if something went wrong with those blood tests, not only he would miss the game, I would miss the game, but our parents would panic. So, anyways, he was fine. He was fine. It's just nausea. It's tension. It happens to me every time. Not that sick, but yeah, it happens. It's nausea. It's tension. Your team. You're scared you lose the final. You're sick, and all of that. He was fine. We got back. We enjoyed the second half. And then obviously penalties. Everybody was demoralized. We lost. And then obviously the last thing which I want to say is we got back from the Puskas Arena to the hotel, to the hostel in the city centre. Now, problem here is that it's that the Puskas Arena, as I said at the start, wasn't the closest to the city centre. And don't get me wrong, after Roma against Seville was the longest game ever recorded in the history of football. So when a game kicks off at 9 p.m, longest game in the history of the sport, goes to penalties, goes to extra time, if I remember well, the game ended when it was like 1 a.m. So very late, pretty late. And then obviously, we got outside the stadium. But another L, when it comes to the UEFA organization, is that we weren't allowed to exit the stadium until after Seville's celebration. And that to me made no sense whatsoever. Because that made no sense. That's brutal. Having lost the final and you're forced watching your opponents whilst crying, lifting that trophy is brutal. So anyways, 1 hour goes by, it's 2 a.m, it's very late, we exit the Puskas Arena, and we go back to the fan zone where we left the metro at the start, and the metro's closed. The metro is closed, and I was like, oh my god, how can this metro be closed? The subway is closed at 2 a.m, never seen such thing. What does that mean? That means after having wasted time going back to that metro, all the taxis around the stadium were obviously booked because everybody got the taxis before us. So at 2 a.m, we were forced to walk from the stadium to the city centre to where our hostel was. It took us 1 hour, 1 hour walk, whilst crying because we lost the final. Our legs were on another planet, at a stage where they literally walked by themselves. And yeah, I don't know. That's my experience when it comes to the Europa League final. The organization of the entire final wasn't the best. And yeah, and obviously it doesn't help the fact that we lost it. But yeah, blood test, yeah, L doctors. It's Hungary equality. It's nowhere same as in Italy or in some Western countries. Great series, I enjoyed it. Cheers, mate. Cheers. How do you get the tickets? I got the tickets with the Roma draw, with the raffle. Because I'm a season ticket. I placed myself in a draw and then ended up getting the tickets. Right, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed this little live stream. The true experience behind the Europa League final. Simon, if anyone here is not proud of the efforts this Roma players has put them, then they don't know anything. We played with a 50% Dybala who can't play 90 minutes for a whole season, and Gini being bored too. That's a wonderful experience. Trudeau Manis. Oh, it's been a dream. It's been so fun. You know, forget all of these scams, waking up at 6 a.m. for the past 5 days, all of this L organization. It's been such a fun experience. It's been a dream. Hopefully, next season it happens again. When's the next? Where's the next Europa League final? Europa League final. Europa League final 2024. Aviva Stadium. Where is that? Oh yeah, Dublin. Right, Dublin. Yeah, Dublin. I read that before. I completely forgot. Dublin. Bring Dublin on. We'll go to Dublin next year. But yeah, it's been great. It's been so fun. It's sad that it ended like this. But as we said yesterday, this is football. We win, we lose, we got robbed. Yes, but we have to move on. Tomorrow we've got a big game. The fans and the players and the managers deserve all of our support tomorrow. Let's try get Europa League. And then yeah. It's a sad end to the season. It is. But I'm fully convinced that we're gonna grow from this. I hope Jose stays at Roma. Any further news on Jose's meeting today? So yeah, they had a basic meeting today. However, there will be a more specific meeting after tomorrow's game because tomorrow's game can decide a few more things. Obviously, if we get Europa League or Conference League, financially it changes a bit, attractiveness changes a bit, ambition changes a bit. So yeah, I think the meeting has happened today. In fact, it happened yesterday evening, I believe. The two sides met, but there will be a more specific meeting after we know if we'll be playing Europa League or Conference League. Jose wants to stay. He said this to his fans. He said it to his players. Obviously, he is going to stay under some conditions. The first condition which Jose asked is for the ownership to grab a person, an ally to put next to him, maybe take Pinto's job, to defend him against the referees and all of this abuse that Mourinho gets. And apparently the two names which are leading the race right now are either Totti back in the ownership, or Boniek. So, yeah. We grow from here. We've got a big game tomorrow. I'm going to go live later tonight for the last match preview of the season. If you enjoyed this one, smash the like button and subscribe to the channel. And I'll catch you in a few hours for the match preview of La Spezia tomorrow. I am going to catch you very, very soon. Hope you enjoyed this one. Signing out.